Hey, everybody. It is a Sunday here in Boston, which means you have had a chance to get your week on. Now is your chance to get your geek on with episode 199. That is right, folks. We've made it this close to 200. We are your host, Chuck Hewatts.
I'm Robert Dokes.
And I'm here to tell you that Chuck has sold his soul in order to reach the 200. So we'll see how things go from there.
Excited for that one, guys. Next week is going to be a blowout for sure. But we got a bunch of things on the docket today. We are talking a bunch of different trailer drops and then just some hype meter stuff as we're building along here. First of all, we have to talk about it. I mean, the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer dropped, which is a show that was kind of in production limbo for a while. Then they said they were going to make it. Now cameras finally rolled. We got our first glimpses. Obviously, Hayden Christensen back as Darth Vader. What were your takeaways from this trailer, guys? I mean, for me, seeing one of the Sith Knights using the spinning lightsaber in live action was pretty damn cool. But I'm not sure what to feel about this show. Robert, I'll start with you.
Overall, if there's going to be a reset button, here's the place to do it. Yeah, I mean, let's
chuckling.
I mean, I'm not gonna. If there's a reset button, this is the place to do it. Particularly because you have Dave Filoni, who did the Star Wars Rebels, is writing this, and that's why you see that. I'll give you my first takeaway before I really go into it. The Inquisitors. This is a show about the Inquisitors. Rupert Friend is the Grand Inquisitor who we saw from Star Wars Rebels. We have a whole bunch of Sith acolytes, as in the brothers and sisters. We get so much of that coming in this story. That is what you're going to look forward to. That is what people are going to look for. It's not going to necessarily just be a story about Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is bringing the rebels. It is bringing rebels to life on the real screen. Instead of being animated, which is animated canon, it's now bringing it to life right here before our eyes.
I feel like they're really reaching for those animated characters. I mean, in the way that they're bringing Ezra and Thrawn into the Ahsoka series. I mean, it started with Saw Gerrera popping up in Rogue One. I mean, I feel like they're really reaching deep to try to bring these animated characters into live action canon.
I don't think so. I think the idea is you have beloved series. So, like, remember, it's what Clone Wars is what gave us Ahsoka Tano, and that's she's a beloved character. This is what we have right now for a series, and so like you can get the good. You have the Boba Fett's, the Book of Boba Fett's. You have the Mandalorians. Now you have what you always wanted, Chuck, which is saber porn. You have you're gonna have a lot of that going along with the Inquisitors. That's what I'm coming around with this, is that you're gonna have a lot of good storytelling with characters that people were intrigued with in the animated series, but wanted to see come to life, come into a cinematic sense, like we got with Ahsoka Tano and Rosario Dawson.
Danny, thoughts on the trailer?
I want to see Anakin. Like they've told me that Darth Vader is this big bad. They never showed it to you. Let's see it. Let's finally see. Let's see why this guy's a menace. I want to see him going ham on people. I want to see his helmet getting knocked half off, with his skin all jacked up. And yeah, I mean they have to clean up a lot of the nonsense it did in the last trilogy. So we're going to see a lot of that going on, which is going to be funny and interesting at the same time. It's going to be like those last three movies. That was like Saying Elsewhere. That was all a dream. So we just want to let you know that we've woken up from said dream, that fevered haze, and we're back.
I'm not going to say it's going to be a fever dream. It's just like this. It's just going to see the whole point is to go back to something familiar, something that people liked. And we've talked about it ad nauseum with things that people like. People like Rebels. That's why Dave Filoni's on this show. People liked parts of Rogue One. People liked,
they like everything preceding like the the High Republic is kind of they're force feeding that down everybody's throat, and it's just not taken. They just need to stop with it.
So that's why I said it's a reset. It's a reset to see how this goes, to see how people will take it, and to say if we can tell a good story with Ben Kenobi, with Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Ewan McGregor reprising his role, Hayden Christensen reprising his role. Again, the thing for me is Rupert Friend looking like the Grand Inquisitor. Like, seriously. I thought they first said Rupert Grint, and I was like, wait, what?
Ron Weasley?
Ron Weasley. I was like, that's a step up for him. But no, Rupert Friend making, looking like the Grand Inquisitor for real. And just, oh boy. And Hensang looking at the set, I think he's the fifth brother as the fifth brother.
Okay.
Excellent. So it's going to be a good show, I hope.
Here's a question for you. Which you guys more excited for, this or Moon Knight?
Moon Knight.
Oh, man, that's a toss-up.
No, I mean, Star Wars, plot holes and spell errors, Moon Knight.
Yeah, I'll say Moon Knight for now, because Moon Knight's the most up-and-coming one.
Now, moving on, we did get another trailer for a beloved show here, The Boys. Season 3 dropped its first trailer, where we'll be getting the debut of Jensen Ackles as Soldier Boy, among some other superheroes. Now, Robert, you're coming fresh off of the trailer right now, so I want to get your live reaction to what you just saw for Season 3.
If it was, if it's supposed to get me excited, it's not going to get me excited. I didn't come up with shivers. It's nice to see Jensen Ackles in the costume as Soldier Boy, but Soldier Boy is supposed to scare the crap out of Homelander. The whole point is he's supposed to be Homelander's foil, and I didn't get that. I got a music video, and I didn't think that was cool.
Definitely not. Now, Danny brought up a point before we went live on air here that I want to talk about. Aquaman 2 obviously has finished filming, and we're getting our first footage from that. Danny was questioning the return of Amber Heard as Mira, because for those that don't know, Fantastic Beasts 3 just dropped a trailer, and Johnny Depp has been replaced with Mads Mikkelsen. So I want to talk a little bit on that situation and whether you guys think it's fair now, knowing how everything has played out with their situation. Do you think it's fair that Johnny Depp was blackballed from the Fantastic Beasts, but yet Amber Heard gets to keep her Aquaman job?
Hey man, who knows what Warner Brothers is thinking?
That's not DC, so I don't have to do that.
That should be our review for everything Warner Brothers. We'll just go to Robert. He can just say that line, and we'll move on.
Well, I mean, it is because Warner Brothers is responsible for the DC movies. They're responsible for the Harry Potter films and Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. And that was their call. It was their judgment call on whether or not to keep that going. Given the climate that we live in, and particularly with Me Too going on, the judgment call they wanted to err on the side of Amber Heard, and because Johnny Depp didn't necessarily have the clean reputation becoming of that. So it's like you can understand why they went with questionable behavior, but now that's out, what's out is out.
Literally,
is what's out is out. It's the idea here is this. That's something that the executives have to live with. It's not like Johnny Depp is not hurting for money because that contract was binding on both sides. There was no morality clause. So
he lost Pirates of the Caribbean too because of it.
Yep.
That's Disney. That's that's a studio.
Yeah.
That's a studio judgment call for Disney. But as far as if we're talking about what Warner Brothers did to their franchises as a result, and I'm sure because look at this. Here's what I'll put it to you this way. So if Universal ever continues to do their MonsterVerse films, which they still could, and I think they still should, Johnny Depp.
Are you online?
Yeah. I'm podcasting. Sorry, guys.
So go if they decide to go do the MonsterVerse like they should, Universal still has remained held off judgment from what I know, on have Johnny Depp reprising his role as the Invisible Man, or at least showing the Invisible Man coming. If Amber Heard should Amber Heard be employed? No, but guess what? They have to go with what they have to stick with the horse that you picked. Can't you? You have to stick with the horse that you picked right now. So that's what they have to live with.
Yeah, people are gonna boycott that movie because of her. And I mean, the sad part is like you said, because of this questionable behavior, she took advantage of that to be like, hey, this is what he did. Come to find out, she was the antagonist the entire time. And yeah, they took a calculated guess. Looks like from Disney's perspective, with the new head, they're leaning more towards content and not trying to fill these quota roles. So the decisions they made in the past doesn't look like they'll be making those kind going forward. So she hit it at a good time, but Aquaman 2 is going to take a hit because of that decision. And yeah, unfortunately, we get no more Pirates of the Caribbean that anyone will be interested in, because those are going to fall by the wayside when they try to bring more of those back.
Yeah, they've cast it now with a female lead. So on the other DC side of things, big news broke this past Wednesday that DC has pushed most of its upcoming film slate, some by a very variable distance. So we'll start here with the listings. Looks like Black Adam will move from July 29th, 4 months later, to October 21st. DC League of Super Pets, which we talked about last week with Keanu Reeves voicing Batman, was supposed to come out in May, but now will come out July 29th in Black Adam spot. And then the most notable delays, Aquaman 2 moving from December 16th of this year to March 17th of next year. And the longest delay, The Flash, which has been delayed time and time again, moves from November 4th of this year to June 23rd of next year. The only
you also forgot Shazam too.
I was just going to say the only good news is Shazam has actually been pushed up from June 23rd of next year to December 12th of this year. So
I think that's all in line to get it in continuity with Flashpoint.
Yeah.
What? DC has a continuity problem? I gotta write this down. That's crazy talk. I don't think that has ever happened before.
Who would have ever thunk it? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous, Danny.
Listen, man, they make it easy. They make it so easy. Don't throw me and then complain when I dunk it.
Of that slate, which is like the one to you guys that you're sad to see push the most? For me, it's The Flash.
No, I mean, if the end result is that Flashpoint is a better movie as a result of having all that stuff pushed back, I'm all for it. It should be pushed back.
Take the shoes off of that, please.
So it should be pushed back. It should be focused on so that it can make it a better film. Now, Shazam being pushed back, Super Pets, probably not what I would have led with going into July, because that's a prime spot.
That's a summertime hits. Well, like maybe they're thinking that's their best one. Like that's going to be, you can bring your kids to the movies. Everybody's going to love it. Bring the whole family, check it out.
All right, guys, and we are going to wrap things up today talking about The Image Revolution, a documentary that came out on YouTube about the creation of Image Comics. And if you can't tell by Danny's title in today's chat, he's got some strong opinions on some of the members of that seven. So for those of you who don't know, in the mid-90s, 7 of the biggest Marvel artists broke off to start their own company, which we now know as Image Comics. And this is kind of the story of the founding 7. And Danny is not kidding that there is a Ringo in this group, and I think we can all agree his name is Rob Liefeld. Now, having met the man live in person, I can tell you he comes off like essence of douchebag, as if it was a Calvin Klein fragrance. So I want to get your thoughts on this documentary, on some of the Image 7. I know Jim Lee has brought such a presence to your comic book life, Danny, but what were your thoughts on Image itself as a brand?
The brand is awesome. I remember when it came out, even Liefeld at the time was huge. I mean, he was getting commercials. So it was just Image owns the eye. That's all they own. They don't own the characters. The Image is the reason. One is part of the reason why we've seen through Marvel and DC, you don't see any interesting characters because nobody's really bringing anything new. Why would you create a character when these two companies are just going to take it, own it, and do whatever they want with it? Nobody creates nothing. Even the events are all retreads. The storylines just regurgitated over and over. It's the same storyline written by the same writer, just for a different character. So they changed around a little bit. And the editors are the biggest ones at fault because they're the ones that allow this stuff to get out there into the masses. Like, nobody wants to see this nonsense. Like, Jim Lee is my favorite artist. So his X-Men run was amazing. He did Wildcats. He did he did another title. Now it's slipping my mind right now.
Youngblood. Youngblood.
Yeah. No, Youngblood was Liefeld.
Yeah.
He did a kid who looked at the computer screen, got the source code in him, and Max Faraday was his name. Man, I'm really drawing a blank on that. See, I don't do names. I do stuff and feelings. I'm an emotion. I'm a Romulan. It's all about emotion and wanting to destroy things.
I want to burn things with my eyes.
I mean, Eric Larson did a Spider-Man run. Did Mark? He did like Inferno. Love Inferno. Oh my goodness, back in the day. And Valentine did the Guardians of the Galaxy. He did the run that I actually read. That's when he had Vanguard. He had the alien race of the Starks because they found a Stark tech and they just like a dog. They were looking for a Captain America shield. And of course, McFarlane with Spawn, his Spider-Man run was iconic. His toy line is amazing. So they were like the biggest. What did they do? 44 of the top 50 titles sold. It was huge. And even now, like, they set up a new business model. Marvel and DC are eventually going to have to adapt. They've been fighting it up to this point, but now it's really starting to hit the rails where they're going to have to adapt their business model.
Robert, any thoughts on the documentary or on Image as a whole?
Image as a whole, that's one of those ones where, for me, not so much on the documentary, it provided a good alternative for, at the time, like Danny was saying, some of the stories were stale. You lost Jim Lee doing a lot of the coloring and coloring and drawing for the X-Men comics, because the X-Men in the 90s, that's what gave us the series today. But I have fond memories of Wildcats, Youngblood, Gen 13 was one of my favorites, and their offshoot, the Deviants, or DB8. And again, man, and it's sad, it all ends up getting absorbed by DC anyway. And then whatever the rebrand was that we get now is Wildstorm.
Jim Lee's studio that was on the Image.
Yeah, Wildstorm Universe. And particularly just because of the fact that some of the stories, it was just different. It was very, very different. And unfortunately, you don't have that anymore. You're not getting that. You don't have, we're glad, I should say this. We wouldn't have some of the comic shows that we rave about today. We wouldn't have The Boys. We wouldn't have the Umbrella Academy if it wasn't for Image Comics.
It's a great point.
Yeah, how could you tell a story like the Max and Marvel and DC? They wouldn't. That would never get printed. No, and that was an amazing story. Yeah. It was so different. Savage Dragon. We're not getting any of this stuff.
Yeah, we're not going to get Savage Dragon. We're not going to get Lady Savage Dragon, or Lady Dragon in terms of that. We're not going to get Gen 13 because here's the story. There is a Gen 13 animated show or animated OVA that has never seen the light of day in the United States ever. And it pisses me off to no end. It was voice cast. It was done by Bruce Timm's group, who did a lot of the Warner the Batman, the animated series, and it will never, ever see the light of day in the United States. I think it's in Australia. And I don't know where it is, but it was an animated Gen 13 movie, and we will never, ever see it.
Hey, let's ask. We have a lot of Australian fans.
Send us.
Have you seen the Gen 13 movie? Can you send us a copy? Digital otherwise. We'd like to see it and review it.
Yeah.
That would be fun. And then as we start to wrap things up here for this week, next week will be an extra long show. As it'll be our 200th episode. So it'll be a bit of a retrospective, bit of a glimpse of what's to come. And then we've got some movies to take a look at. Netflix has a great new bootleg universe show by Adi Shankar called Guardians of the Universe. We've got The Boys Diabolical to check out. There is The Dropout on Hulu, which is the story of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. There is Joe and Carol on Peacock. So there's tons of great stuff to be out there watching, guys. If I can warn you away from one thing, though, it is The Adam Project, the new Ryan Reynolds movie on Netflix, where he time travels to meet his younger self. Such a bad movie. No plot. I give it a 2 out of 10. It was just horrible. So stay away from that. There's tons of great stuff to watch on TV right now. And make sure you join us back here next week for episode 200. Any final words, guys?
The Morbius trailer also dropped this week, or the final one, and it finally showed what Matt Smith's character is going to look like, or at least the foil for that. So still doesn't interest me, but hey, at least it finally told me what Matt Smith is doing in the film.
Yeah, and for you, Danny.
Watch the Elizabeth Holmes show. What that woman did was amazing.
So criminal.
Awesome. It was diabolical. She was like, the way she tried to copy Steve Jobs. Her voice was fake. And there's only one clip of her actually using her natural
real voice. Yeah.
She immediately snaps out of it. And then she goes right back to this. And like, and she had them all fooled. Like,
I'm so happy you're watching that, because like I've seen all the documentaries about her, and I know the exact clip you're talking about of her on the phone.
Yeah, and she was talking in an interview, and then suddenly
she's like, "Oh my God, no, it's not." Oh, so anyway, we're gonna have to go.
This is my Bible. Yeah, so watch that, and you'll see a cycle. What happens when a psychopath and a sociopath kind of combine their powers in an intelligent mind?
Look for Danny and I to debut our hopefully touring Comic-Con panel, A Good Hill to Die On, the definitive defense of Man of Steel, which will launch next week in conjunction with the 200th episode. So we are very excited about that, guys. So we want to thank you for joining us for 199 episodes over 6 years now. It's been absolutely crazy. Look for great new changes coming next week. Danny and I have got some big announcements for you guys. As always, make sure that no matter what you do in life, stay away from Oprah.